Hi guys, it is Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and today on this video I'm going to do a Switch 2 video, but don't worry, this is not about leaks or nothing like that. This is basically me sharing with you guys my theories about the Switch 2, what I would love to see in the Switch 2, and most importantly, how is it going to impact JRPGs and other games. I've been seeing the Switch 2 everywhere nonstop since the new year, and I thought I might join the conversation. And I know I might be a little behind when it comes to the news or leaks or stuff, mainly because I don't like to follow those things. I much rather just play the games that we have and then speculate a little bit later closer to the date. But recently we've seen a floodgate of a lot of Switch 2 stuff, mostly because there's a lot of third-party companies just like saying stuff about the potential Switch 2, and Nintendo's a little hush-hush, so we know they're about to reveal it soon. When? I don't know, that's up to Nintendo. I could post this video and then a day later they could reveal a Switch 2. Who knows? So in this video, I want to explore the potential benefits of the new hardware that we might be getting from a new Switch 2, especially with a JRPG's gamer's perspective. And please keep in mind, this is all speculation. Nothing has been confirmed when it comes to Switch 2 related things. So please don't take this as definitive information. I just wanted to have some fun discussing this topic. But before we get into this video, I want to say, if you end up liking it, then hit that like button, and if you love my content and would love to see more, then please consider subscribing. Now, there are some things that we do know about the Switch 2. People have been saying that this console is going to be called the Switch 2, and I, for one thing, am all aboard with that naming, because putting the Switch name in it is going to be a huge boost when it comes to sales and advertising. Another thing I heard that's pretty promising, that there will be a control that will reduce drifting. I don't know how that's going to be implemented, but seeing as a lot of people had problems with their Joy-Cons drifting, I personally haven't. It's a good thing that they're taking some kind of measure to reduce it, and having to replace them, which was really expensive because the Joy-Cons were like $80, and hopefully we won't have that problem when the Switch 2 arrives. Now, one thing I'm really curious about is, can you use the regular Joy-Cons for the new Switch 2? Not as the Joy-Cons on the side, but more like, oh, if you have a friend, you could lend them an old Joy-Con and it will still work. And can you use the standard Switch Pro controller for the new Switch 2? Now, this is a question that's probably not going to be answered till closer to the date, and I don't think anybody besides me is actually wondering that, but I'm pretty curious. Now, another big change is the actual screen. The Nintendo Switch 2 looks like it's going to be having a bigger screen than the regular Nintendo Switch. I'm hoping that they have an OLED version of the Switch 2. For the Switch, I really can't go back to an LCD screen. It looks really weird. Another thing that's been rumored is the Joy-Cons could be a mouse. Like, you could point it like a mouse. I don't know how I feel about this feature, if it's a thing, because that's pretty situational. I don't really see me having to use my Joy-Con as a mouse unless it has internet or something on it. It's just really weird, but who knows. Now, with all those rumors out of the way, I want to highlight two important things. Those are an increase in power and the option to do backwards compatibility. Now, fortunately, we did get someone from Nintendo who said, yes, your normal Switch library can be played on the Switch 2. So that is a huge weight lifted off me, because imagine not being able to play all these games. Not that I would necessarily sell my old Switch, but not everybody wants to have all these consoles running around. And I really think that the Switch 2 is basically going to be a Switch with more power. I don't think it's going to have its own gimmicks or things that make it, you know, a different console than a Switch. It's just the next evolution of the Switch. Alrighty though, let's move on to our next topics. Now, I'm going to look at this from a JRPG gamer perspective, because honestly, it's one of the genres that are suffering the most when it comes to the low power of the Switch. First point, more current game JRPGs. It's sad to say, but the Switch isn't really keeping up with a lot of modern JRPGs, and you can see this in a ton of different games. Because of the hardware limitations of the original Switch, many current gen games from the PlayStation 5 and Xbox have not been released for the original Switch. The main benefit is that so many games previously unavailable to the original Switch can now be released for the Switch 2. 2. The first and most obvious one are the JRPGs that can't be on the Switch. I will be thrilled if Persona Reload, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Infinite Wealth does make it onto the Switch too because it's more powerful. Most third-party developers don't even want to try with the Switch because the hardware is so behind. I even do it myself. Most JRPGs that are really taxing, I buy it on my PlayStation 5 because I know that the Switch version is going to not be the best. So I am really hoping that for the sake of JRPG players that only have a Switch, that the Switch 2 really comes out with a lot of power that can handle these kinds of games. Especially Metaphor ReFantazio. The game is amazing and I would love more people to play it. Now a lot of people are saying it's going to be the equivalent of a PlayStation 4, and while it might not be as strong as the current gen PlayStation 5 and Xbox, it's still going to be stronger than what the Switch has. But people often forget that you could take that puppy on the go, and that's what I love about the Switch, because it's the easiest way to play all these long JRPGs. And if it wasn't for the dated software, I would have bought most of my JRPGs for my Nintendo Switch. Many viewers in my comments expressed a hope that the game I discussed will be on the Switch eventually, and I think it would, because let's be honest, the Switch is one of the best-selling consoles in a long time. So a lot of these companies do want a piece of that pie. So basically, all this to say, I wish that the Switch 2 would have good, better hardware so it could run some of our favorite JRPGs on the Switch without many hiccups. There will be some hiccups, but nothing too big where you can't even release the thing on the console. And as a person who loves games better than the hardware, I still realize that the Switch needs to be a bit stronger so we could get the most out of the games we love. So don't come at me saying, oh my god, it's about the games and the experience. It doesn't matter if the Switch is a potato. Yes, it does matter, because if it can't run the games, you can't play it. I really don't like how some people just dismiss the hardware part because of the games and just like, oh well, it's, you know, I like the first party games. Yeah, I love them too, but if they could run a little bit better, that'll be awesome. Alrighty, next point. I'm getting petty. Next point. Now, a Switch 2 that's potentially powerful is not only going to help with JRPGs that are not on the Switch, but the JRPGs that are already on the Switch. The next topic is backwards compatibility will improve Switch RPGs and other games as well. It's already confirmed that you could play your previous Nintendo Switch games, which is great, but this is just speculation. I feel like not only could you play your older Switch games, but it will make those older Switch games way more powerful for the Switch 2. With backwards compatibility, we can accept a similar scenario to what we saw with the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, where PlayStation 4 games will run better on the PlayStation 5, and I feel like it's gonna work the same with the Nintendo Switch 2. Even Nintendo first-party games are kind of chugging at times. I've been playing Mario and Luigi Brothership, and there is so much frame drops. It's insane. Now, I don't know what goes on into a console. This is not the channel for that. I'm not gonna look at the motherboard and stuff. You could go look at other channels who are more informed in that department, but I can tell a lot of these games are chugging on the Switch. So I want these games that were released later in the year of the Switch to get a much needed upgrade with the new Switch 2. Now, ultimately, this really depends on the developer, so I'm not really saying for a fact that this is gonna happen, but I'm approaching this with a little bit of a positive outlook and really giving it the benefit of the doubt, especially their big hitters like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You ever wonder how Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild will look on a stronger console? I do, and it probably looks amazing. And I hope that Xenoblade Chronicles X would be a Switch 2 game and also a Switch game, because we don't want to discount the Switch too soon. So I'm hoping that the Nintendo Switch and the games that are on it and the games that are backwards compatible will get a nice boosted upgrade. I mean, heck, I get all my Atelier games on my Nintendo Switch, but for Atelier Yumiya, I'm really thinking of just getting it on my PlayStation 5 because I know the Switch version is just gonna chug, and that's sad. And I'm hoping that Nintendo really focuses on increasing the power, and just because they want to go for a more powerful console does not mean the console is gonna lose its identity or something. Like, legit, some people think that the more powerful it is, the more, you know, samey it is to the other two, when that's not the case. It's still gonna act like a Switch, it's still gonna have the weird gimmicks, it's still gonna be made from Nintendo, and power does not equate a console being boring, and it's still gonna have its hybrid nature, so suck it up. Now the next point is gonna be talking about the UI and the and it's so apt. But first with the UI, I'm really hoping that they add more themes. Can we get an option that's not black or white? Hopefully let us have at least colors on our background. It doesn't have to have this whole wacky UI with music and themes and things running around, but I'm just wishing for more customization, please. And another thing, I would love for them to ditch the serial number friend code. Just get that out of here. It's so dated. Everyone has a unique username anyways. Use that instead. I'm tired of the Nintendo Switch feeling like the Temu when it comes to online experience compared to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. If I'm gonna pay for something, let it work at its basic minimum. Now, if it was free and it acted like that, you know, then I could give it some pass, but no, it's not free. Now, another thing I would like to add before we end this discussion is trophies. Trophies is pretty controversial for some reason, and I am hoping that they will add it for the Switch too. Trophies are fun. A lot of people are just like, well, we don't really need it, so I don't really want it. And I'm just like, well, we don't really need anything, but it's fun to have. Not everything has to be a necessity when it comes to the Switch. So that is it for today's discussion. Please let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about the topic? Is there anything that you would like to add to the list? Are you hyped for it? Are you not? And lastly, what game would you love to see in a more powerful Switch? If you like this video, then please hit that like button, and if you love my channel and love to see more, then please smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.